This this is America Weather Streaming Channel meteorologist Chris Schramm reporting here from Atwood, Kansas. We got meteorologist Timmy Albertson on the ground in Des Moines here this afternoon, and he's got some pictures that we took earlier today from the line of storms that went through the Knoxville and Des Moines area that did have severe warnings on them as far as thunderstorms went, but this line has now moved off to the east. We've got tornado watches in place pretty much for the entire state of Iowa as this upper level low moves through here this afternoon. Those watches will go in place until late this afternoon, evening, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central Time. And there is potential that with these storms along this, first we got the initial line that's moving through, and now we've got a kind of a wraparound in the upper low and back line that's now moving across the Missouri River into portions of western Iowa. This activity, again, does have severe storms on it on those lying to the east in that Kirksville, Missouri area. That'll be moving northeast into southern and southeastern Iowa here over the next couple of hours. But we're kind of regrouping here in the Des Moines area, waiting for this back line to come through that's now entering the western portions of the state. We do have, a meteorologist on the ground, and we're here at the studio reporting on this here this afternoon. Timmy, can you hear me?
I do believe I can hear you.
Okay, so where are you at, and what did you see here this afternoon?
Well, mainly the first round came through, mainly a lot of heavy rain, pretty much all the way from Des Moines down to you and I were chatting down around Knoxville, not Tennessee, but Knoxville, Iowa. Hit a nice little storm there. It actually had a little bit of rotation in it, but it looks like that rotation has since weakened off. And now I'm just making my way back towards Des Moines. I'm here on I-80, just past Newton, actually, coming up on Des Moines here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got that going on here this afternoon. Again, we've got tornado watches on this system, pretty much for the entire state. We've got, again, we're going to watch this line here back that's on the western edge of the state and see if that comes through as a squall line here later this afternoon. But again, this is a storm that has produced some hail with it. The wind gusts of up towards the 70 miles per hour. The storms are moving rather quickly, particularly in that front line of storms that we saw move through the Des Moines area, the Knoxville. We had some footage there, Timmy, where the rain was just coming down in buckets. You could hardly see the road. And also the fast movement of these systems, to the north and east around that 60, 50 mile an hour also puts, those winds pretty much straight line. It could be up there to 70 miles per hour. I know back in Kansas here, we are in a high wind warning this afternoon on the backside of this. We've seen gusts going up here this afternoon into the 60s mile per hour range. So this is a pretty tight low and does have the potential for some more severe weather as we go into the evening. We'll be updating, going back live here this afternoon when those storms get more developed and start moving into the western and central parts of the state where Timmy's at. And then we will regroup and be back on here later this afternoon. If you're on our Weather Valet customers or subscribers that we've just recently added, particularly in the Kansas area, we're going to do more and more of this storm coverage live, particularly in those areas that don't have a lot of meteorological access to their own local meteorologists, where you kind of fill in that void. I know out here in Northwest Kansas where we live, or where I live and do the forecasting, we don't have any local television stations that do reporting. We rely on Wichita, Kansas, and which is about 4.5 hours away, 340 miles, and then Denver, which is about 250 miles to the west.
Now, it does appear that we have a new tornado warning, actually, that's in effect right in central Iowa, way north of Des Moines there, but a brand new tornado warning just popped up on that kind of lone storm out there. You see it there on the radar there, Chris?
Oh yeah, we got it right north of Fort Dodge here. Yeah, we got a tornado warning that just popped up here. Uh, it's in the southern portions of Pocahontas County in northwestern Iowa and in northeastern Calhoun County in west central Humboldt County. This tornado warning is until 3:15 p.m. and we do have a confirmed tornado was located over uh, the region and moving to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. So there is a confirmed tornado on that. It's located near Rockville and moving to the north at 35 miles per hour. So you can kind of see that on the radar here. That cell is just to the south and east of that Rockville area. It's got circulation here on the radar and is a confirmed tornado on the ground. So people in that Rockville area to the north and east, it's moving really fast. So again, here at 2:38, we've got a warning that'll be in place, for the next 45 minutes. Folks in the Manson area and to the north and east of Rockville City need to take precautions. This tornado is being reported on the ground.
Now, this would be the second tornado of the day now in central Iowa. They had one a little bit earlier on today, west of Des Moines, in the town north of, just to the east, I think, actually, of Perry. Haven't gotten a chance to swing over there yet, but so if this one, as you say, is observed, well, that'll be the second one, at least in central Iowa today.
Yeah, it's been observed and it's been reported. We've got some flying debris, mobile homes and stuff could be damaged as it's moving through. Some of the other towns that are in the path of this would be in South Twin Lake, North Twin Lake, in those areas around 2:40 p.m. or as we're speaking now. And then we talked about Manson. They project that could be there around 2:45. And then we got Pomeroy around 2:50 and Palmer around 2:55 p.m. So those are the towns that are in the path of that here for the next 30 minutes. Again, that is to the west of Fort Dodge in those towns of Rockwell City, Manson, Pomeroy. This is a pretty serious storm with the the rotation and the confirmed report on the ground. On that last radar loop we just saw there, you do definitely kind of see that where the colors are changing here in this radar. That is where that tornado is being observed. Again, it's crossing highways 26 there as we speak, and looks like, again, that's heading right towards that Manson area. Looks like in about 10 minutes it could be moving through Manson or just to the west. And that is the situation where we need to take precautions here as quickly as we can. That is a tornado that's been confirmed as on the ground. So something that we need to take into consideration. We also got tornado warnings if you were on the other side of the state in that to the west and north of Sioux City, the Lamar's area. This is kind of that other line that we're looking for. We've got this one that is into the north and eastern parts of southeastern Lyon County, northeastern Sioux County. That one will be expiring in about 10 minutes. And this, again, it's a confirmed tornado, was reported 2 miles east of center. Again, they're moving very fast to the north and northeast a little bit. We also have warnings just to the west of Sioux City and southeastern Lyon, northeastern Sioux County. Again, that one is also till 3 p.m. A confirmed tornado there on the ground. So we've got several tornadoes here with this system. We've got these 3 warnings, again, in the Lamar area, the Sioux City area, and then back towards Manson and the Rockwell City area. So we've got a pretty significant situation now developing across Iowa. Again, that entire state's pretty much in a tornado watch until about 7, 8 p.m. this evening. Conditions are favorable. We looked at some of the CAPE indices and the severe weather indices. If we get to that southeastern and eastern parts of the state, there's really high dew points. That is probably where we're seeing the effect of that first line. It'll be here for the next couple of hours. If we kind of zoom out here on the radar, no warnings on that front line on the eastern side from Waterloo through Cedar Rapids down towards Kirksville. We do have this cell that would be moving into southeastern Iowa in that Kirksville, Missouri area. Does look like it is probably the strongest cell on that line, and something to keep an eye on. I know just taking a look at the CAPE values down here in this southeastern part of the state, they are reaching up there to 1,300 joules and levels that we need to definitely think we could see tornadic activity potentially in this southeastern section as these storms move that way. Again, we've got the confirmed tornadoes in this west of the Fort Dodge area. That cell is moving now. We got two little areas here that are in consideration. You can kind of see that hook a little bit right in here, that rotation. Again, that is on its way just to the west of Manson. So that's about 10 minutes away there. There's another little cell within that box over here to the north and east of Pomeroy in the Palmer area. That's also moving north. They just put a thunderstorm warning on that cell. So it is probably not at the level of tornadic or being reported a tornado, but it too is showing this kind of indication of a little bit of potential rotation on that southwestern corner. So that is a cell that we need to keep an eye on. That is moving to the west of Pocahontas here over the next probably 10, 15 minutes. And again, that one back in Manson. So we've got a pretty significant cluster of a couple storms there that would have, the tornado potential with them. And then again, we've got this cluster on the back line that is in that Sioux City, Sioux Center area. Let's take a look on these, see if there's been any update. 15 minutes on that in that Huff area. And this one too had the confirmed tornado at 2:37. So that was a while ago, but there was a damaging tornado on the ground at 2:37 there in the Sioux Center area. So that one is still got 15 minutes on it. You've seen a couple of those other warnings now expire, but we'll keep an eye on this one here in that Huff area. It's kind of lost its rotation here on the radar, so it is as it's moving towards and across Highway 18 there. It had a confirmed tornado with that cell on the ground about it'd been 20, 30 minutes ago, something that it is still in effect for 15 minutes as it's moving into that Huff area and to the north and east. Go back to these cells over in Fort Dodge and the Rockwell City area. Has lost a little bit of its intensity here on radars. It's moved into Manson. Again, though, that did have a reported tornado on the ground to the north and east of Rockwell City. Now moving through Manson, and then this other cell up there around Pocahontas. That has a severe thunderstorm warning on it, and is now updated here on the radar and has moved closer to Pocahontas. So we'll zoom back out here. Again, here this afternoon, Timmy's on the ground in the Des Moines area. We're going to kind of regroup and watch these cells out to the west as they move through. Got the activity in the southeast quadrant here to watch the rest of the afternoon. We are under a tornado watch into the evening, and we'll be doing that here live on America Weather Streaming Channel as we continue here into the afternoon. That's kind of our update where we're at. We do, the cells have weakened. Could wait here just a little bit more on this one in the Huff area. It has weakened. There is a cell, that Rock Valley, that could have some large hail, maybe a little bit of rotation. Those we'll keep an eye on those for about 10-15 more minutes. Go back over here to Pocahontas. And again, that cell now is just in that Highway 3 area, just to the west of Pocahontas. Again, it's got a severe thunderstorm warning on it, but these cells have weakened here in the last couple radar loops. So we will kind of back up here. I've got one over. Timmy, you have anything to update on?
Oh, and then also, Chris, I actually joined as well here.
Okay. Nick, how you doing?
Good. And so how you doing? Yeah, so, I mean, it seems like, to me, like the cell, like that's down like in Kirksville, is more actually hail and, actually wind than anything. I don't see anything that has any, I mean, like, I know, I know, I'm like, there's no rotation really at all down there, it seems to me. But I know, actually back up on the actual western side of Iowa, I know like those cells look like they actually do have, like some actual, I know like some actual, like, yeah, I mean like, yeah, oh yeah, well, yeah, and I'm like, I know like they actually have some actual, actual tornado cells that are actually happening there, but in terms of actually moving forward, I think those cells that are in Iowa are like the ones to really keep an eye on for, and I know you've already said all that, but yeah, and I think that the one in Kirksville, we have to watch, and then there's some cells that are moving into the St. Louis area currently soon, but those look like they're more hail than anything. Like I would say nothing too serious down that way. And then obviously, I know you were talking about like the Cedar Rapids area, that area, I'm like, there's still some area that, like in there that needs to be watched. But it seems to me like a lot of the attention now is on the western side of Iowa.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we've been thinking here is that front line has moved off and to the eastern sides of the state. There was, I think we've had three confirmed tornadoes, I believe, here so far. We had that one on the front line, then we have this one here in the Rockwell City area. Manson, again, that cells looks like it is past the Manson area, and then these other ones that are still got 11 minutes on one here, and then it has moved into this other box area, but again, there's 9 minutes left on these cells in the Huff area. Particular, it's pretty much past Huff, moving towards rural areas here in the north western parts of Iowa, South Rock Rapids, and in that Dune area. So we'll watch those here for a little bit. And again, this cell over here.
Yeah, like this west of Fort Dodge looks pretty, bad actually. It's weird how it has like a kind of like a, I mean, like I know like the look has like a cyclonic look to it. It's kind of going, backwards in a way. It's kind of moving in a cyclonic fashion. And you can tell, like you said earlier, there's slight little hook on that cell that is actually in between Storm Lake and Fort Dodge.
Yeah, so these areas here, the one again, that cell around the severe thunderstorm warning cell to the north and west of Pocahontas, the cell to the north of Manson, and then we've got these over here in the northwestern parts of the state that do have warning, severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings on them here for about 15 more minutes. We'll just kind of watch this radar as that progresses and see if those will continue. Again, they were reported on the ground. One up here, these up in the northwestern part, was about 40 minutes ago, at least now. And then this one in the Rockwell City area was a 2:37, I believe. So we've been roughly about 20 minutes over there as well. Again, we'll keep an eye on this situation here the rest of this evening. Again, most of the focus, we're going to be on that western side of the state as its upper low and system continues to move across Iowa here this afternoon. Nick, you seeing anything else to add?
Yeah. So in terms of what's going on, I think like I mean, I feel like the main focus, like we've been talking about, is the western side of Iowa. I mean, I think, clearly there are some cells that we, could watch that are on the eastern side of Iowa, but those look to me like, there are some severe, I know like there are some severe thunderstorm warnings that are still, actually in, there, but in terms of actual tornadoes, we need to focus, on like the western side of the state. And we need to, keep an eye on that area. But for areas down further, like south, toward like St. Louis, like we need to, be concerned that there could be, more, high winds, hail. But yeah, I mean, it's really tough to know exactly, where these tornadoes will, spin up. But right now, we have an idea that the ones that are in the western side of Iowa, are the ones that are the most dangerous. Yeah, and and I actually been trying to find storm reports on the western side of Iowa, but it's been pretty hard to find new ones. I mean, like those are from like the cells that were earlier, but back, let's see, I mean, like I'm trying to find afternoon reports, but I have a lot of, actual reports from earlier today, but earlier today there was the tornadoes that went, just west of Des Moines. There was tornadoes. And I'll share my screen here with some of the stuff I've seen on the storm reports. So yeah, I mean, if you see here, this was this morning, or like this is around like, around like the actual, I'm like there was a tornado that was actually reported. It was basically just west of Des Moines. And then up in the same area we've been talking about, there was already a tornado. Well, actually, as of 2 p.m., I guess there was a tornado that was, actually reported, and like that's that tornado warning we're talking about. That is north of Sioux City. But yeah, I mean, really, as basically Chris and Timmy have been, actually saying, the focus is that next, line of storms, and yeah, so just basically stay up to date, and I mean, like I know, I'm actually hoping Timmy comes back on. He can, come back on and actually fill us in more. But I think in the next 30 minutes to an hour, we need to kind of see what is going on here. It looks to me like a lot of these cells are moving in like a northerly fashion, which is interesting. So, they're kind of, they're kind of taking a different looked and the ones that were earlier happening. So we got to see kind of how that, shapes up, here in the afternoon. Because a lot of the energy, you would think there's a lot of energy that was already used earlier, but we'll see, we'll see how like these storms, actually, I know like they'll, actually continue, but we don't know how much steam is left in them, compared to what happened early already. So.
And if you and looking at the satellite imagery here, there is a sun that's popping back out in that Des Moines area to this line to the west. So that is kind of heating up and going to prime that area once again, when that back line comes through to the west there. So, we do have, the activity that's kind of blowing up in that northeastern Missouri, Kirksville, southeastern parts of the state. But again, with this, just looking at the last visible satellite imagery, it's heating up there in those parts of Iowa where that back line will be going. And like Nick said, it is kind of rotating around. That's kind of the back or the upper level low that will be coming through here. And so it does have that kind of twist or rotation in it where it's moving north and even a little bit to the north and west when you look at those cells that have the tornado warnings on them. I'm just kind of looking here to see if we got any updates on those. Got a couple minutes left on the one that's in the Boone area, and the other one, we got one, so we'll just keep an eye here, see if they continue to issue those, but they may get expired here as these cells have kind of spread out and weakened just a little bit as far as rotation goes. But definitely this one that's between Alvard and Dune does look like, it's got some pretty good, at least straight line winds in it. I would say, those 50, 60 mile an hour. We'll see if those will continue, but we'll zoom back out a little bit, kind of. Oh, the one in the Manson, the Pocahontas one, too, is got about 15 minutes left on that one. Those were observed on the ground in both these. Oh, they have continued. Reissued the one here up in the Rock Rapids area in Dune. So let's see what we got here. For another 30 minutes, that's tornado has expanded. The tornado warning will now include eastern Lyon County in northwestern Iowa, western Osceola County, and northeastern Sioux County. National Weather Service continues that tornado warning to the north there for another half hour. And at 2:58, so 2 minutes ago, a severe thunderstorm capable of a tornado is located near George, or 11 miles southeast of Rock Rapids, and it's moving north at 30 miles per hour. And there are multiple circulations within that cell, and this warning is, radar and was radar indicated rotation, but did have tornadic activity on that line that was further to the south. So it is, again, their radar's picking up multiple circulations, and it's moving northwest of Boyden, heading up there into that area in Rock Rapids, to the south of Rock Rapids. So that is a new one that they let those other two expire, and that that cell here now is on pretty much extending from that Dune, or to the north and west, east of Dune, Alford, and moving north at 30 miles per hour towards Rock Rapids. Gonna go back here. We'll look at Pocahontas. That cell north of, going back to the other tornado warning that's still in effect, to the north of Rockwell and that Manson area, Pocahontas, Gilmore City. We got 13 minutes on that. There is, some intensification of that cell. We got the another one to the north, and it's got a severe thunderstorm. Oh, here comes Timmy. Here it is. So no, that is some hail there in Bloomfield, it looked like.
And if we go back down south and we look at the cells that are happening in like the Kirksville area, there's still the severe thunderstorm warning that's happening. And then if you go even further south, we go, to the northwest side of St. Louis. There's actually some cells if you zoom down that way. If you go down and you zoom in, go down a little bit, zoom in. I don't know. It seems like like the radar hasn't updated down there, because that whole line right there, it shows like a severe thunderstorm warning, and it looks pretty impressive actually. Like a lot of the reports are going to be hail and high winds down that way. I don't see anything that's spinning wise. I don't see any type of. I don't know why it's weird. The radar I'm looking at shows a lot more impressive. Here, I will share my screen here. So yeah, if you see here, this radar isn't the best to use, but if you look right here, you can see how this line right here is starting to strengthen. Actually, you can tell as it kind of goes on the north side of the St. Louis area. I'm gonna try to see if I can find reports, but I mean, it looks like it's mainly going to be a lot of, high wind and hail. Nothing on that line looks like actually, any spinning wise. I don't see anything. And it sounded like, and I'm not sure if we have Timmy back on, but I thought, I thought he actually might have been back on by now, but I'm not sure.
Not hearing them here, but yeah, okay. So here's kind of our areas that we're looking at here. 3-4 areas of severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings. We'll kind of run down the tornado warning areas first. We got 3 areas with active tornado warnings. They're pretty much expand the whole state. We got one on the northeastern side of the state, in the Independence area. It is got 10 minutes left on it. Its history is 303. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Buchanan County Fairgrounds or Independence, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. This was radar indicated rotation. So that cell is tornado warning is in effect for another 10 minutes. And then you move yourself to the north central parts of the state in that Fort Dodge area. Let's see here, radar, where's our radar? Um, 9 minutes left on that warning, and then this one here is going to have some more time on it up there in the north of the Sioux City area. So here, get these things refreshed a little bit. There we go. So again, 3 areas of tornado warnings active. We got the one in the northeast part of the state, and then this one to the north of Fort Dodge. This one was confirmed tornado at one point when it was to the south and west of Manson. It is moved out of the warning box, and we'll see if they continue that one. I have my doubts that they will, and then we'll focus back up here on this one that's got 20 minutes left on it in the Rock Rapids area. Again, this one is radar indicated rotation. There's a couple 2-3 areas in there that the radar has some focus on here to the south and west of Rock Rapids. Again, these are moving north at about 30 miles per hour, and cells to keep an eye on here with this area to the north and west. So we'll just kind of back out radar here. Anything you see on those, Nick?
So with the cells that are in Iowa, and I actually have the radar on my phone. Unfortunately, the radar I have that's on, I mean, like, it's actually hard to see really, but that cell that you see there, that's just southeast of Sioux Falls, that cell, it's moving northeast at 25 knots, is what I see right now. And then I see with the cell that is just west of Fort Dodge, in between Storm Lake and that area, that cell is moving north at 28 knots. So these cells aren't moving that fast. They're actually kind of, I'm like, they're not moving as fast as you would think. So in a way, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens, because if there is a tornado on the ground, it's going to take its time, there on the ground. It's not going to just go away. And then if we go back further east to the area that we were talking about, that's actually east of Waterloo, that looks pretty nasty. It's very interesting to see a actual tornado that's behind a actual rain shield. Those are very nasty situations, because we had all this rain that was out ahead of it. And it's actually now, the tornado is happening now, behind on the back edge of that rain shield. It's interesting to see if I could, I actually wish I had the radar up on my computer here. I have it on my phone, but it's hard to see. And for some reason, that radar is not updating to what's going on currently. I don't know if you can refresh it.
Let's see here.
I can try to pull up just not as good looking radar here on my computer. It doesn't look as good as that radar when it's fresh. But that cell that's in Waterloo, Iowa is concerning, because, it's really going to catch people kind of a little off guard, in my opinion, because it's behind all that rain that already went through. And typically that's the opposite of what happens. Typically these tornadoes happen on like the leading edge, and this tornado is spinning up now on the back edge of this rain shield. So, I hope it doesn't catch anybody off guard. So anyone that's in like the Independence area needs to, understand that it looks pretty bad. It's actually going to be and these cells are taking the same type of trajectory. Like, they're going north, and the cell that's actually east of Waterloo is moving a little faster. It's at 42 knots, which is good news for anyone who's in that region. Hopefully the cell can, get out of there quick and maybe not do as much damage, but
yeah. And then this one was the one that was near the Buchanan County Fairgrounds, or near Independence. It is radar indicated rotation there.
Yeah, that is actually really concerning.
Yeah, it's very, it's got lots of area in here. I guess it would be to the north and east of Independence. Just kind of keep an eye on that there.
It's a doozy, because, and I think a lot of people are like thinking, well, and I know, like, like, it's nice because everybody's up to date, and, but it's just, it's a scenario that is more rare in a way, because usually you would think that, once the rain comes through, you're okay. But in this situation, there's just so much energy still available. It's really looks actually pretty nasty. But I'm like, it is moving faster than the cells that we were talking about that were further west in Iowa. Those cells are moving slower and they are more isolated, like we were talking about. The ones that are actually west of Fort Dodge and also up in that area southeast of Sioux Falls, they're pretty isolated. Those still, like they're also moving in like a northerly trajectory, but they're moving slower. So it'll be interesting to see kind of if those, continue to hold steam. And then there's some rain that's, further, like some energy that's further, southwest, actually kind of, like in like the actual eastern side of Nebraska. Now, I don't really see anything too crazy with the stuff that's down that way, but yeah, we just need to focus on those 3 areas, like he was saying, and then obviously down in St. Louis area, there's and also Kirksville, we need to focus on that a little bit, but really it's just the 3 main areas, like he was saying, that are the most dangerous, and in my opinion, the one in Waterloo, that is pretty nasty looking. But it is moving faster, like I said already, so that's good news.
Okay, let's see if we've got any. Looks like this one just got a new thunderstorm warning on it. Here to the north in that northwest of that Rock Rapids area. Again, these are kind of taking this rotation to the north and back to the west a little bit. The one that is to the north or the south and east of Rock Rapids is the one with the tornado warning on it. Radar indicated location. It's in effect for 17 more minutes. And so the folks in that Rock Rapids area, that line is now kind of moved through Rock Rapids, again going to the north at 30 miles per hour, rotating back a little bit to the west. So that is, here we got an update, it looks like, on this tornado. 16 more minutes. See if there's anything to report. 3:13, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was near George or near Rock Rapids, moving north at 30. We still got that 30-mile-an-hour movement on it, pretty much to the north. Radar indicated rotation and potential for the damaging winds with that.
Yeah. And, as we know, like the tornado watch is up until either 5 p.m. for the western counties of Iowa, or, as you move further east into central Iowa, there's a tornado watch up through 6. So, basically we need to keep an eye, for the next couple hours with, like actual, I know how, I know how Chris mentioned how like the sun came out like in Iowa. So that's going to help fuel the storms more. So, we got at least, probably about 2.5 hours before we're out of the clear, with these storms. We got to, so it's going to be interesting to see how they, actually, I know, and it seems to me like the ones that are further west are more isolated, which is good, but they are moving slower than the main line that is actually east of Waterloo. So.
I'm going to look at some of the currents here. Some of those areas where they are starting to see the sun come out. Looks like it's kind of, the sun is coming out. The dew points are still pretty low in that area because the rains already went through. It's kind of cooled it, dried that out. But when you get back to where the area where Timmy is sitting, we've got that Des Moines area. You're starting to see those dew points back up into the upper 50s. They're in the central parts of the state. So, that is probably an area that here the next couple of hours that we'll need to focus on. And also up there in that northeast where we got the current activity on the ground. That seems to be an area that's still got some charge and ability to produce some pretty strong cells here, particularly this one now to the north and west of Rock Rapids. It's still Again, moving north at about 30 miles per hour. Radar indicated rotation here in the between Leicester and Steen, north and west of Rock Rapids. Again, we did not have tornadic activity reported on the ground. The ones that did have those, there was some here earlier to the south. We had some reported tornado here in this west of Manson.
Yeah, and also if we go a little bit further south and we go into, kind of down in that area near, like that south of Cedar Rapids in that area, and like all the way down onto the actually Missouri-Iowa border, that cell actually is actually looks like it's actually strengthening as we speak right now, and it's headed toward the Fairfield, Iowa region. And there's some severe thunderstorm watches, or actually, sorry, there's some severe thunderstorm warnings that are popping up currently with these cells, and it looks like there's hail that's as big as 1.75 inches that's actually headed for actually Fairfield, Iowa. And I'll share my screen. This radar isn't as good as what here Chris is showing, but this will at least give you an idea of the area specifically. If you see here, this is the cells that I'm talking about down in here that are producing hail that's as high as 1.75 inches, looks like. So we're in a, that's pretty, significant, and there's going to be a lot of high winds, and that's going to be moving, obviously in looks like a more northeast trajectory, because it's kind of on the western, flank of that actual line that was, kind of, and it's actually kind of separate of the line we were talking about that's in Waterloo. And it's kind of, but I mean, like there's some, actual, and actually like that cell's moving actually faster. It's actually moving around 50 knots. So like I would say, for anyone who's in the Iowa City region, or anyone who is in like Fairfield, or even, like that area, I would say you probably got about 30 to 40 minutes before that, actually hits you guys. And, going back up like to the three areas that we were talking about earlier, it looks like, I don't know, I'm not sure what your radar's showing, Chris, but looks like the cell that's up there near Rock Rapids, like you were talking, it looks like it's still the tornado warning is happening. There's also a severe thunderstorm warning there next to it. And I guess it's moving. I'm curious if it's moving any faster, because before it was moving not as fast. It's still moving about 25 knots. And then the cell that's in Pocahontas, still tornado warning. It's moving a little faster, 40 knots, obviously. And there's some hail with that as well, it looks like possibly. And then the cells that are now they're actually getting on to the actual doorstep of like the actual, I guess it's near like, like the actual, well, I'm trying to look at the cities here, but now it's actually east of Independence. So anyone who's in the Manchester, Strawberry Point, Fayette areas, those are areas that you need to watch out as there's still like a tornado warning in that area. Yep, those are the areas looks like we need to still focus on. And like we said, we still have a couple of hours, for stuff to pop up, or for stuff to, kind of still, actually play its course to see what happens. But it looks like a lot of the reports are hail and high winds. Yes, they're the tornadoes, and like they're isolated. But yeah. So we need to keep an eye on those isolated areas.
Okay. And again, to summarize this, we're kind of watching these cells and the upper level part of this low on the backside to the west. We got Timmy Albertson is on the ground in the Des Moines area, kind of regrouping. Was there for the first round that went through. Saw some footage where the rain was just really coming down hard as he was driving through there. We can see some of that later, and then the activities now on the eastern side of the state, and this stuff in the northwestern corner continues to be the strongest activity here this afternoon. Again, these watches pretty much covering the entire state of Iowa from except for the very southwest corner and the very northeast corner. We got watches. The one to the west is in place until about 5, 7 in the one in the central, and 8 in the one to the east. And that does encompass areas pretty much all the way from the north and west of St. Louis, the Kirksville area in Missouri, and all of Iowa here the rest of this afternoon and evening.
Trying to see if there's any new storm reports on the western sides of Iowa. I'm having a hard time finding any, but as we can see, like the radar kind of already tells you what's going on. So, we have the tornado that was touched down, near like the Rock Rapids area. And there could be some hail with that. And then, as we've, basically, I know like there's really, actually not much else to really actually mention other than that, there could be some cells that still pop up here, actual new ones. So we'll have to, actually keep an eye on that. But yeah, I mean, I think really honestly, like in terms of moving forward, I think we just need to really keep an eye on those isolated areas.
Yeah, and this low pressure system has got been packing a lot of wind, and just looking at our surface map here, we've got anywhere from sustained winds of 35 to 45 miles per hour, just pretty much all the way from Chicago back here into northwestern Kansas, southwestern Nebraska. It's a large area of winds. We got high wind warnings in effect until the evening hours. We've seen blowing dust. We don't have a lot of rain on the backside of this situation, so there is potential for fire hazard if we do get a lightning strike in some of these areas on this backside that are dry and in there. Most of that threat is gone into southeastern Nebraska in there where it's a little bit more wet, but it's been something to it's been dry pretty much in these areas. Southeastern Nebraska, you kind of look at, if you follow the drought monitor, and that they're still in moderate to severe drought in that southeastern Nebraska, north central Kansas, and those areas. They're still needing rain. A lot of these last systems have just kind of skirted those areas, and really it's been dry all winter in this Midwest region. They didn't get a lot of snow like they typically have, so we're going to be counting on some of these spring storm systems moving forward to bring some moisture in there. But really have had a lot of wind with the last 2-3 systems since the 1st of April. Now we're heading towards the end of April. There looks like there's a couple more that we'll be watching probably later behind this one, and probably have a few quieter days.
Yeah, and actually, so actually just east of Des Moines, as like that area, like that. Actually, Chris was actually mentioning, if you can see on the screen, they were in an extreme drought, but that was as of, I guess, April 11th is when the map was released. So, but I know they haven't really seen much rain. So I'm like, that's really good news for that area and for the farmers in that area, for their crops, because it's been very dry in that area. They are in desperate need of a lot of rain.
Yeah, and this time of year, you need the rain put the seed back in the ground here and have the crop for next year. So we're hoping for that, with these systems. Again, we've got the severe weather this time of year, any of these storms. And actually, when you go back and look at some of these that come, particularly as we head towards the end of the week and the weekend, there's another low that'll come through that'll grab some colder air on the backside. I know here we're forecasting some rain snow mix into Saturday morning. Our temperatures last week got just 2 days ago, we had 3 days over the weekend and Monday of reaching 90 degrees. So we saw record warm. And then by the end of this week, morning temperatures are going to be in the 20s. So when you got storm systems and lows, doing a temperature change there of 70 degrees, they can really become strong systems. They have the wind, and then as we're watching here across Iowa is in the center of those cells, the severe weather activity. And it looks like we've got some that are popping up here on the east side. We've got 17 minutes. We got 3 tornado warnings now for the next 20 minutes that kind of, see, we get this radar to update. There we go. Fayetteville, Strawberry Point, Manchester, down there to Alamosa. There's 3 warnings now on the eastern side of the state. Let's see if we've got anything that's been reported. All Mortillo, Alamosa, moving north at 70 miles per hour. Wow. Their things are radar indicated rotation. These things are moving really fast. So that is that front line of cells. We got lots of thunderstorm activity on that front line here, coming from West Union through Independence, Alamosa. Nick, you see anything on those?
Well, with those cells, I mean, I've been seeing more. It looks to me like, obviously, you could still see there's a tornado warnings that are issued, for like Fayette and like in like those regions. It looks like, and there's also some hail that's could be reported. It's maybe around an inch at like the biggest, but as Chris was mentioning, those, I mean, like, well, I'm like that line of storms is moving, actually fairly quickly. I mean, it's moving, actually, I would say around 40 to 50 miles an hour, as opposed to those independent cells that we were talking about further west in Iowa. Those are moving slower. In terms of reports, I mean, I am trying to find some reports, but they're slow to come in. I don't know if your actual Twitter is showing you any new updates, or actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm just kind of running down these to see if any of these had any reported. Not seeing they look like they're all radar rotation indicated. We did have tornadoes with the ones back in. I think I'm kind of count here. I think we had three that had tornadoes actually spotted. One in that north and west of the Des Moines area. The one up there.
Yeah, the map that I have right here, I'll share it.
Okay.
Let me share it. Hold on. So we had. It looks to me like we had, like we were talking about, and that was west of Des Moines. There was a tornado damage. It was 2 miles west northwest of the Dallas Center in Iowa. That was 11:05. There was a tornado, and there was a tornado like that was. I think it's the same tornado, but there. And then further northwest, there was a tornado that was in. I can't pronounce it, but it's. I'm trying to see if there's any cities near. Yeah, so it was in like the actual Manson area. There was a tornado. That was at around 3 p.m. So that was just in the last 30 minutes. There was a tornado that was, and like that was the cell we were talking about that was, kind of isolated, and it was moving a little slower. And it looks like these spotters, there was a tornado that was east of Palmer, which I think it was the same cell we're talking about. And then at 2 p.m. that cell, there was a tornado that was in Bruinsville, Iowa. And it was confirmed by like a guy who is like an emergency manager. But yeah, like that's what I'm seeing for the tornado reports so far in Iowa.
Okay.
At least for today so far.
Oh, Timmy, where you at, Timmy? Oh, he bounced out. There he goes.
He must be in between in like the central part of Iowa. It looks dry.
Yeah, I'm just north of Des Moines now. Was down in the southern part earlier. Now just kind of tracking north, kind of right along that pseudo dry line, if you want to call it that. So a couple little showers right on that, and then might be hard for you to see, but just off to my left, it's actually pretty clear behind this stuff right here. So kind of riding right along the edge of this boundary. Temperature actually did jump up pretty nicely too. Well, if you like warm weather, I guess it's nice. I'm a cold weather person, but anyways, moving rapidly along. It's at about mid 70s right now.
Okay. What else did you see? I mean, kind of recapping your day. Kind of give us a rundown of how your day went. You kind of left this morning, and what did you travel through earlier today?
My travels today, huh? Well, boy. Well, you and I were talking. I ran into that pretty nice storm further down to the south. But otherwise, it was mainly just kind of this heavy rain all the way from about Des Moines down for a while. It kind of stabilized things a little bit. Now, with that activity well off towards the east, up around Davenport and Iowa City, it's allowed the atmosphere a little bit of time to recover. You know, interestingly, you guys have been talking about that lone supercell way up there near Rockwell City. Might be a little bit hard. You can't see it now, but I can actually see the cloud tops of it just off to my left. The truck happens to be blocking it, but he doesn't know we're live. And then just barely on the screen here is another storm that hopefully I'll be getting into. But yeah, it's nice thing about being out here, though, as opposed to up north where I am, where I live, there's not a lot of trees, in case you haven't noticed. So you can see things much further than you can up, north of the 45th parallel, I guess I should say. Unless you're, of course, in North Dakota. But, yeah.
All right, well, stay safe, Timmy.
Oh, how you doing?
No, good. Yeah, I'm good. But yeah, I mean, like, just stay safe as well.
You know me.
So what are you thinking the plans here for the rest of the afternoon? Kind of.
Well, people often talk about how flat the plains are. But the thing is that if you look around, there's some gently rolling hills. Now, if you're from my hometown natively, I'm from near Toledo, we were under a glacier, and then after that, we were part of a lake. My hometown, this is Mount Everest compared to where I'm from. Fun little geography fact for you. Northwest Ohio, very, very flat.
And we're not in the time of year where all you can see is corn either. So we got is anything greening up? Is it all dry?
But I like corn.
You're in the corn state.
I am a corn person.
Okay. Let's see here. We got the radar.
That's my contribution to this conversation.
The corn person. The corn person in the corn state.
Well, yeah, because I know the people in Iowa are going to be happy because we're getting out of drought up there with this rain. Well, not getting out of it, but actually, obviously putting like a dent, like in the drought.
Yeah, droughts are my least favorite. The absence of anything.
And a lot of that was from the lack of snowfall this winter. I mean, there just was not a lot of snowfall in the Midwest.
Well, we got lucky up where I live because we had a late March snowstorm, which was effectively snowfall totals were just about as much as we had for the entire winter up to that point. And that was nice because it sat on the ground and it's just starting to melt. So the ground, at least up around my immediate area, is somewhat wet. But yeah, we had a very high fire risk yesterday. My guess is that it's still probably on the high side.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of areas in the Midwest, they had like a bookend winter. We had some winter in November, and then it got warm in December, and then we had some periods, and then there was about a 10-day stretch of winter, that happened, and then it got warm again, and then now we're in like I know some areas that we're seeing some winter weather, but really it was basically winter and then no winter and then like 10 days of winter and then no winter and then actual back end winter. So it was a really weird actual pattern. And as Chris was saying, those areas thrive off snowfall, and when they don't snow,
it's up around where I live, snow is like half of their industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had to cancel stuff left and right because normally we have a foot of snow on the ground at most given points in the wintertime. We didn't have any. It was actually really funny because when you take a place like up around Duluth that sees a lot of snow in the wintertime and everyone plans for it, and then it doesn't happen for the whole winter, people don't know what to do. Everyone just stands around and is like, well, we can't do anything because it's 30 degrees, but there's no snow. And that creates a wicked feedback loop with the weather because if you don't got the snow, you can't get the sun's light to reflect. You can't get it to get cold. It was just a really weird winter. I hope I don't see it again.
Yeah, it kind of had some reminders of 2012. Kind of some 2012 vibes.
I am so glad you say that because every time I bring that winter up, no one knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was 87 degrees.
Yeah,
in my hometown in the middle of March one day.
Well, I remember back at the end of February in 2012, it was in the 80s here in St. Louis.
Yeah,
and it was ridiculous. And that summer was one of the hottest summers in the St. Louis area since the 1930s.
Oh, that summer was that summer was terrible. That summer was so hot. It was so hot that summer that my car, the fabric inside started peeling off. The glue started to melt. It was that hot. It was
it was scary.
It's like 102 in Toledo. Well, and then we had a derecho. We had a derecho push through. And it knocked out power to most of Ohio. And then it was back up to 100 degrees for like the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. I know like actually in like the St. Louis area, we saw like about a week plus of like 100 plus air temp. And then we had heat indexes of about 115, 120. So,
Yeah, that was
all
terrible.
we're trying to say here is that drought makes drought worse. And you don't want to be in a drought in the spring because that's bad news for the summer. So, I mean, I'm like these areas that are seeing all this rain, that's great news because, who wants to see crazy hot temperatures in July and August?
Well, it's also hard when you have a weather chat show and there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
Case in point, this winter, it was so. I mean, normally I could find stuff to talk about, but I mean, this winter was so weird. I was like, we got nothing to talk about. Here's a picture of my cat.
Yeah, I know this winter, I know for us out here on the plains was, generally we when we talk about blizzards, we're talking about a foot upwards to, 2 foot would be way too much. I mean, I think we've had some 20-inch snows here in the last 10 to 15 years, couple, but those are your record type snows. We had 4 of these 3, 4, 5 inchers that get the 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and they just blow. And so they trigger blizzard warnings, mostly due to the visibility of the winds. And we had drifts that would, when the wind was going one direction, and then it would blow back, and you get snow removal, and they'd come back. And I think we're probably close to our average snowfall for the year with the poor snows at 25, 30 inches. But again, the winds have just been tremendous.
Yeah, the winds that have been, really crazy this spring. It's been really intense with the winds, and really, it's going to be interesting because, a lot of the winds that we're seeing now is typically what we see in March, but, they're still howling in April, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how May shapes up.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the hazard map, we got high wind warnings on this system all the way from kind of Black Hills area, that southeastern Wyoming, all through the plains to Oklahoma. Then we got wind advisories to the whole eastern 2/3 of Kansas and back up to the north into Minnesota. So this system is just packing, like we said, 35 to 45 mile an hour straight, sustained winds all the way from Denver to Chicago. And then that low's, right now it's right over Iowa, wrapping up that upper level low. And that's where we got the severe weather activity. We got the tornado watches that'll be covering the entire state here to the evening. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like, tornado warnings that are still in effect. The ones that are on that northeastern part of the state, and then the one up the northwest corner, the one north of Fort Dodge. We got a severe thunderstorm cluster that's now in north of Kirksville, Missouri, into the southeastern parts of the state, and then back towards St. Louis. So those are your 4 or 5 areas of severe weather.
And it actually looks like that cell that's north of Kirksville has a tornado. It's actually going to be north and east of Kirksville. It actually has like an actual tornado warning with it now, which is new.
Yep, it just popped up. So for next 45 minutes, it's in effect. 3:40 p.m. Severe thunderstorm capable producing tornado was near Memphis, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. Weather spotters reported a funnel cloud. So again, a funnel cloud has been reported there 5 minutes ago to the near Memphis, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. That tornado warning will be for those locations in southeastern Van Buren, Scotland, and northwestern Clark counties until 4:30 p.m. A new tornado warning there in southeastern parts of, or actually it crosses the border into northeastern Missouri and southeastern Iowa.
And it looks like that cell that Chris is talking about is moving pretty quick as well, about 45 knots. So it's going to be in and out, and it's actually on its way toward. It'll be toward West Point, Iowa, and that area, sometime around 4:30. And that cell and the line that's actually associated with that to the north, there's a severe thunderstorm warning east of Fairfield, Iowa, for like the Mount Pleasant area. But there is a hook. If you look on that, if you go north of that tornado warning, there's a hook kind of that's near Fairfield, Iowa. I don't know if you can see on the radar, but there's a little hook slightly, like a slight north of there. If you go a little bit north, I don't know if you can see it, but it's not really a hook, but there's like a little bit of like an indentation right there. So we have to keep an eye on that. That could be a new tornado warning popping up soon. Yeah, we'll see.
Just got a warning on that, or a thunderstorm warning popped up on it. The one that, the area that might have had the funnel cloud, or did have the funnel cloud, now is to the north and east of Memphis. There's a little bit of signature to the south of Memphis. So that is our tornado cell that we're keeping an eye on. Again, Nick said it is moving 45 miles per hour to the north and east. Between Memphis and Granger there in northeastern Missouri. So we've got a pretty strong cell there, and then that's on that line that extends to the west of Iowa City through Fairfield and back towards Memphis, Missouri.
Yeah, and honestly, I think there could be another actual tornado warning that pops up along that line, because that line is starting to. It looks like there's a little hook there that's actually further north. I don't know. It's tough to say if it's a hook, but there could be some more actual warnings pop up here in the next 15 minutes or so. We'll see.
So let's see here. That front line now, again, is extending there in the eastern parts of the state. Here this afternoon, we again kind of summarized the hazard map. We were running that down just a minute ago. Tornado watches in effect for pretty much all of Iowa, northeastern Missouri until later this evening at 8 p.m. We got a severe thunderstorm watch in the St. Louis area into south central Illinois. And then as you get behind this system, we got high wind warnings until evening out in the western Kansas, Nebraska, eastern Colorado, advisories on the eastern 2/3 of Kansas, western Missouri, fire weather down where it didn't rain in Texas Panhandle, where we had that massive fire here a month or so ago, that Oklahoma Panhandle region, northeastern parts of New Mexico. And again, just a pretty active map with this system here in the central parts of the country, with the heart of the storm system, moving through Iowa here this afternoon. Kind of run down our surface map a little bit, see what we got going on. So that upper low is now over northeastern Nebraska. We've got strong southwesterly flow into the center of it, that drier area in the southwestern parts of Iowa. Temperatures are ranging anywhere from 55 degrees up there in that Sioux Falls, Sioux City area, where we got the rain cooled and the severe weather in the northeastern or northwestern parts of the state, feeding into that low. And so we're kind of watching that area that would extend where these the higher dew points, the sun's popped out there to the north and west of Des Moines, kind of circles back towards that Kirksville area in the northeastern Missouri. That central, we could see a round of storms refire in that central parts of Iowa here this afternoon. And again,
yeah. And actually, here's the surface area map. I don't know if you guys can. Here, let me reshare it again. I don't know if it was it wasn't popping up, but this is just the general pattern. I don't know if you can see here, as Chris was mentioning. You have this whole surface boundary here, all along, in like the Iowa area, and then you have it wrapped around in like the low that's, further northwest. And that's kind of what's causing a lot of those cells to move to the north. And then you have, weak cold fronts on the back side of this. And really this, in like the Iowa area, like where those isolated cells that were popping up, that's kind of like an occlusion that's happening currently, right in that area. But yeah, it looks like, once that low moves off, it's going to get really windy, as Chris mentioned. Tomorrow, it's going to be really strong winds here, even in like the Missouri, actual region. And it looks like even, like this weekend, it's going to, start to get windy again and get, more unsettled, obviously, next week again.
Okay, is anything new popped up here? I don't see anything. Nothing's expired. What about back to the north and east? Looks like that stuff in the northeastern or northwestern part of the states may have lost its severe.
Yeah, there's only, looks like to me, the one isolated cell that was in the middle part of Iowa. I don't know if is that still a tornado warning? I'm kind of surprised it is. But I guess it is still a tornado warning.
Yeah, it's been extended till it's still for 40 more minutes. So
and that cell, like I said earlier, is moving slow. It's not moving fast like those cells that are to the east. So anyone who's in that isolated area, keep an eye, because it's kind of a unique situation. It's isolated, but it's packing a punch.
And this is the cell that was, we've been talking about that Pocahontas area. This to the northeast there. I think when it was to the southwest, there was actually a funnel on the ground probably over an hour ago when it was in that Fairfield area. Now it's to the north and east of Pocahontas and 11 miles north and east, as a matter of fact, at 3:47, so less than 10 minutes ago. Located near Rolfe, and this is spotters again reported a funnel cloud. It has the history of the tornado, like we were just talking about, so that has been issued until 4:30 on that cell in the north central parts, West Bend area, Whitmore, and north and east of Pocahontas. So. That one's kind of out there in that area of occlusion that Nick was talking about there, where that upper low is kind of the wind, it's centered there, and the winds are spinning around right there, and that is a prime area. I think it's still showing dew points in around that 60 degrees, upper 50s in that area before this dry push comes into the backside. So that is a prime area to see tornadic activity, and then also as it bows out here in front, let's say down here to the Jefferson, Perry, Des Moines, and all these areas, we still could see stuff redevelop here this afternoon as that back push comes through, and probably another round of severe weather here firing up for the late afternoon and into the evening period.
And actually, going back to that line, Chris, that you're talking about, that's it's actually in like the Memphis area of southern Iowa, and actually that's actually technically Missouri, but that tornado warning is still up, and you can see that line even to the north. It's kind of having a kind of like a bow look to it. It's starting to get so like there's some like severe I know like some severe thunderstorm warnings that are actually associated with that. But yeah, like that one cell that's going for Farmington near the border of actually Missouri and Iowa. It's technically Farmington, Iowa. I would, that's an area that, actually needs to keep an eye out. And looks like it's still moving about the same speed, about 45 miles an hour. So, yep.
Okay. So yeah, that one till 4:30, we got a tornado warning on it. Again, here we're going to zoom in on it here. You can see these areas on the radar, moving through those rural areas. to the north of Granger to Mount Sterling, Iowa. That is probably the area. If you're in, that area is probably where the strongest winds, the potential. I think that one had the funnel cloud. I'm trying to remember.
The one cloud that you were talking about, that was the one that was the isolated cell that was further actually west Iowa.
Yeah, that's the one in north central Iowa. So
this one is actually, I think, it looks to me like it's, and there's actually looks like this cell says that there's some hail that's pretty big with it too, around the 2-inch, hail. So I don't know if there's any reports on, being shown, but it looks pretty nasty. That's for sure.
Let's see if there's any storm reports. Pocahontas area, viewing a tornado, officer. That was a tornado. Kirksville, golf ball size hail. Iowa, anywhere from 1 inch to 1 3/4 inches with that front line. From Kirksville to Davis, Sullivan, Lincoln, Faulkner, or in that southeastern Iowa.
Yeah, and it looks like like there's been like some high winds, obviously associated with that, in the 60 to 80 mile an hour range, and in any area where there's a tornado warning, the winds are probably approaching 80 or 90 miles an hour, roughly on like an estimate. It's tough to say right now, but the big story, like we said though, is like the higher winds and the hail. So like that one cell we were talking about, I think the big cell is now actually northeast of Memphis, and it's approaching the Iowa border here. That's the cell that I would say needs to be actually kept an eye on, because eventually it's moving toward the Davenport, Iowa region. It's not going to be there for a while, but anyone in the Davenport area, eventually that looks like it's kind of going that way. That'll probably be around like the evening rush or late evening rush hour.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it here to the south and west of Mount Sterling. Again, there's not a lot of, these rural areas, small towns, but it has got a lot of, there's hail and wind in that area, and it's a pretty big here on radar. It's probably covering a good 30, 40 mile swath there from Mount Sterling to the north of Granger. Looking at, I don't know if you can see that, kind of where you're starting to see a little pocket in there. That is pretty significant, I think, right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, that thing's moving fast, but that's probably let's see if we got any, that could be beyond this rotation. There could be a funnel there in that area.
And I do think north of that area, where there's the bow look to it, that whole line, there could be some spin ups along that line north there, near the Iowa City region, toward like West Liberty and Hills in that area. It'll be, kind of interesting to see how that, evolves, like, cause now we're, actually getting into the evening hours. And this is when people are coming home from work or.
Yeah, that's a pretty good line there. Going into Iowa City, North Liberty, those are some of your bigger population areas. It is later in the afternoon, that time of day where people are traveling into that. There's probably large hail and winds 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. Front line there. So
but the good news is that it is moving about 45 miles an hour. It's not like that isolated cell that we were talking about, up in like the northern and actually western part of Iowa. So it is actually moving at a pretty good clip, but yeah, just don't be actually caught off guard on it.
So kind of recapping again, we got the tornado warning down there in north, basically crossing into Iowa as we speak. That state line area there, that is the strongest cell. Potential rotation tornadic activity. Now just moving through Mount Sterling pretty much. That's moving to the northeast. It'd be heading towards to the north and east of Farmington to Boone Part. Again, these are rural areas there in the southeastern parts of Iowa. 4:30 p.m. that tornado warning, another half hour in effect there. We got thunderstorm warnings now on that front line that we've been talking, Nick was talking about, all the way from Cedar Rapids, be moving through Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, all the way to Mount Pleasant. So that is a large cover area of severe hail, wind, potential tornadic activity here over the next 30 minutes to an hour. You kind of zoom back out. We've got the one cell up here in north central, still got the tornado warning on it. All by itself.
Weakening a little bit. It looks like it is weakening, but
I had another one pop up here in Wyoming, Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah. That must be the one we were talking about. That was in this. What was the city name? I forgot.
Sioux, north and east of the.
Yeah, northeast of Sioux Falls. Looks like it's going toward Fulda region of Minnesota. Or it looks like it's really kind of, it actually has a weird look. It's kind of backfiring. Kind of has like a backfire trailing look to it. I don't know.
There you go. See that?
Yeah.
It's building back down on that line. So this is kind of where that dew point, where the sun has popped out, and then they're still charged. Kind of this line, kind of right back through here, Fort Dodge, back through the Des Moines area. Wonder where Timmy's at. He's probably in this vicinity somewhere.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the middle. I don't
driving back home that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're seeing some refire now back on that western, the backside of the system. We've got the activity now in the southeast parts of the state, and this looks like it'll just keep going here, like the watches are in place. This area here in the northwest for a period of time, then you get in the north central until 7 o'clock. Through here, and then you get back here into this area till 8 o'clock here this evening. So let's see. Did we pull this? Did we look at this one here? This Worthington one?
Yeah, that's the one we were looking at. That's in Minnesota.
Let's see. That was Noble County, southwestern Minnesota, 4:15 thunderstorm. Radar indicated rotation.
And it's actually starting to expand, more to the southeast, as you were saying, if you look at the, wider range. And if you go even further southeast, we were talking about that one cell that was in actually Pocahontas, but now it's north in the West Bend and also Rodman area. And that still has a tornado warning with it.
Yeah, that one extended now. So.
And what's interesting is these cells are moving about half the speed as the cells that are further east. So that's not good news.
These are kind of on that upper low, that what we were talking about, the where it's circulating in, and so they've got this movement that's, kind of to the north and northwest.
Yeah.
That cell's really gotten strong right here to the north.
Yeah,
And
it has.
it's been Rodman, folks in Rodman. Let's see what that, this thing's been, gosh, how long
It's been
ago?
going for over an hour, I think.
Because it was down here in this area.
Yeah, it was in the Pocahontas area.
Kind of went this way. Now it's kind of curving back. Tornado is located West Bend, 14 miles southeast, north of 25. Tornado.
The new cell that's even further southeast, as you were saying, Chris, there's more stuff bubbling up. There's cells that are going, toward like the Forest City area, and now it's in like Bellman, and that cell's moving. That cell's moving up there, so that's more development. So yeah, I mean, like there's going to be more of this up through the next couple hours.
And a new one's popped up in Dickinson and northeastern Clay County until 4:30, and that was that line that Nick we were just talking about building back. It's got a tornado warning now on it too. So, or look at this. Look at this line fire in here. We were just talking about that area possibly. So, here we go. So there's three new tornado warnings on that back line, extending from Worthington through Milford back to storm spot right on there, Emersburg. These are in effect till 4:30. I don't think we've had any reports, but as you can see, this cell did hour and a half ago or so, probably a couple hours now, back here to the south and west of Pocahontas. So that line has been lifted into the north and east there. This is new stuff up here, firing back on that. I'm trying to look here what we got on our surface map. What are the temperatures in that area? We got 63 being reported in that area, 59 dew points. You get back to Fort Dodge, we're at 70, down into Des Moines, 73. Still got dew points in the upper 50s.
Yeah, you still have dew points in that. Yeah, and like the threshold around 60, so you still got to watch out. And then if you go back further southeast again toward the cell that's in like Kirksville, it actually was in Kirksville, but now it's moving northeast into Iowa. That cell looks like it's still moving about the same speed, and the tornado warning's still there, going like, as Chris was saying, toward like the Salem area and also Mount Pleasant, and it's moving in like the area toward like the Davenport area eventually, and then north of there, like that whole area. Actually, right now, as we speak, north of Iowa City and near Iowa City is getting hit pretty good as well. But no tornado warnings that are new to the north of that tornado warning yet. Just severe thunderstorm warnings, looks like.
So here we're looking at that front line. Iowa City's moving through Iowa City, Washington. Still got the tornado warning down in the southeastern cell. That one, I don't know if there's any reports. But at one point here, when it was in the Mount Sterling area, that looked pretty rough.
So the one report, I got a report that was in Sand Hill, Missouri. It looked like and that was about 30 minutes ago. There was a possible thundercloud, and I think we already mentioned that, but it was hard to tell because it was raining so hard. But there's going to be more reports, here soon.
Yeah. Okay. So front line of storms. We've been kind of tracking this here all afternoon. I think it was before lunchtime, that Des Moines area, north and west of Des Moines. Now is, moving into, well, actually, it'll be moving into Illinois, here crossing the Missouri, or actually the Mississippi, sorry. And then we've got stuff, refiring back to the 3 tornado warnings now back on the back line from Worthington through Spencer, Algona. This area here from Worthington back to the north and east of Fort Dodge, north, probably just to the north and east of Des Moines. This is where we're going to see this stuff kind of flaring up here. Let me see here. Why can't we? I gotta figure out which buttons refresh on there when I get to these.
Yeah, it's a shame it doesn't just refresh for you automatically.
It probably does. I just gotta figure out which thing to click. I thought it said the tower,
but from what I can see, yeah, and it looks like these cells are moving. I guess they're still moving about this. They're actually starting to move a little bit quicker on those isolated cells Chris was looking at, trying to look at. But as he was saying, and emphasizing, that whole area north of Des Moines, all the way up to the Minnesota border, and even into Minnesota, that's the whole zone from Des Moines north that there's going to be more redevelopment possible in the next hour and a half, 2 hours. So, just basically keep an eye, because there's going to be new stuff happening. Because like the dew points are still high, and there's still some energy left, and we're still on the other side of the frontal boundary. So, yep.
Oh, new tornado warning over here on that one we've been talking about that went through Mount Sterling. Let's see, 45 minutes.
It's going for, like the new actual London, Mount Pleasant area eventually.
Quad Cities, Southern Henry, Southeastern Van Buren, Northwestern Lee County. 5 o'clock, a severe thunderstorm producing a tornado is located over Bonaparte and moving 9 miles southeast of Issaquah, moving to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. Tornado and $50 size hail is the hazard. Radar indicated. So if we zoom in on this, here's Bonaparte. It's this area here in the, again, rural areas. But that has been extended till 5 o'clock.
Yeah, 5 p.m.
Heading towards Mount Pleasant, probably south Mount Pleasant, New London.
And and eventually, like as I've been saying, we'll see how long this line holds up, but eventually it is going toward higher populated areas, as actually Chris was saying too, toward the Davenport area, and actually west of there. So, for, people who are, actually coming back from home, from work, there's going to be, some problems.
It's on this front line here. Let's see if that tornado warning, Scotland County, Clark County, till 4:15, a severe thunderstorm, possibly with a tornado located near Rutledge, northeast of Edina, moving northeast at 40. Radar rotation, Wakanda, Luray, South George, Granger, Arabella, Fairmount, and Etna, around 4:20. And Medill, Ashton, Nieper, 4:25. Cahokia and Chambersburg, 4:30. So that is now a warning to the south there in to the east and northeast of Kirksville, heading towards the Iowa, Illinois, Missouri border area.
And it looks like north of where those tornado warnings were issued, where like the severe thunderstorm warnings are, it looks like that bow, doesn't look as pronounced as it once was before. So that is good news. So, but like the tension, as Chris was saying, is south, where those tornado warnings are issued. That's the strong part of that squall line.